Talking to you from Derby, Kansas, Halloween 2007. I grew up, as you know, in Kansas. I attended a small Baptist church, probably not the most sophisticated ministers. Heard lots of sermons that I think were full of hate. The terrible, terrible Catholics. Oh, those Catholics, you've got to avoid them. Well, then the years go by, and I'm superintendent of schools, Elkhart, Kansas, middle 50s, need a good English teacher, can't find one. And somebody says, well, there is a lady who is an English teacher out of the CIG plant, but she's Catholic. Well, I went out and interviewed her. Had a great time with her and with her ornery husband, Bill Smith. And he liked to kid me and did a good job. Well, I recommend the lady to the school board, and that included a 3-man board, one of which was Catholic, and they looked at each other, talked quite a while, and said, well, yeah, we'll approve her. In the future, though, be sure you're aware that it's all right to recommend a teacher who is Catholic, but don't recommend a coach or an administrator who's Catholic. Okay. Didn't really understand it, don't yet, but got a whale of a teacher. Oh, was that lady a great teacher, a great advisor. She had a lot to do with making Elkhart, Kansas turn around from being a not so very good, well-behaved, disciplined school to a great school in short order. I was so impressed at one time I said to her, Anna, I think maybe I should consider converting to your religion. Because I let her know I was so impressed with the depth of her commitment to all that was good and right. She laughed and said, well, over at that Methodist church that you attend, is everybody committed at the same level to their religion and to the concepts of the religion? No. Well, she said, our church is just like that. Well, I'm interested today in sharing with you a little review of an article in the USA Today having to do with, so what does the Constitution say about religion? Subtitled, it may not be what you think. The writer is Oliver Buzz Thomas, who's a minister, a lawyer, and an author. He's writing, or has written, 10 things your minister would like to tell you but can't because she needs the job. I'm quoting from him. He says, we have the oldest written Constitution on the planet. We can be proud of that. What we can't be proud of is that a lot of Americans are confused about what the Constitution says. Some think it says one nation under God. Nope. That's the Pledge of Allegiance. Others think Creator with certain, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. That's not in the Constitution. That's in the Declaration of Independence. And when they deliberately left out the question of religion, except to say some very definite things about it shall not be involved in government, no doubt they got a lot of complaint from the clergy of the time back there in the 1770s. The article that does mention religion in the Constitution, Article 6, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Wow! I'm quoting again, the no religious test clause stands out because most colonies did have religious qualifications for public office, Many required a belief in the Christian doctrine of the Trinity, with some, like the Carolinas, going so far as to require that all elected officials be Protestant. Was this leaving religion out, making clear it wasn't to be a criteria, an accident? Hardly. Quote, was it because they were militant atheists? Hardly. James Madison, the primary architect of our Constitution, studied under the tutelage of Presbyterian preacher turned Princeton president John Witherspoon, and even considered a career in the ministry before opting for politics. So, it's pretty clear that the framers of the Constitution didn't leave that out by accident. In fact, I quote again from the article here, from what the good Reverend has written. More likely, the framers were concerned about the corrupting influence the institutions of church and state have on each other when either becomes too cozy. These guys, he's referring to the framers of the Constitution, quote, these guys knew their history. They had witnessed the bloodshed by governments in the name of religion. Europe was nearly destroyed by it. They also knew their politics. The Baptists, I'm still quoting, Presbyterians and other evangelicals were fed up with religion that was established by the state. Listen to this. All us good Baptists should really notice this. It was prominent Virginia Baptist John Leland who declared, I'm reading from this article, the notion of a Christian commonwealth should be exploded forever. And then a quote within the quote. Pastor Leland went on to assert that, quote, the fondness of the magistrates to foster Christianity has done it more harm than all the persecutions ever did. So when you get right down to it, the Constitution is making clear that no citizen, I'm reading again, no citizen should be advantaged or disadvantaged because of his religious faith. I'm not quoting now, but it also infers not only disadvantaged or advantaged because of his faith, neither because of his lack of faith. I'm going to close with this last quote. America's so-called godless Constitution, with its provisions separating church and state, has given us the strongest political and religious institutions on earth. Quoting some more, among developed nations, no one else believes and worships as much as we Americans. One can only marvel when today's pious pulpiteers clamor for federal dollars for their faith-based initiatives or complain that God has been kicked out of the public schools. Perhaps they were praying in school when they should have been studying their history.